Look at that view. Go ahead, open your eyes and look at it. Those are the rolling North Georgia, dark green, absolutely gorgeous mountains. After 2 weeks in Myrtle Beach, judging the hell out of everyone in the campground there, I have come up here to the mountains of Georgia after much, and let me repeat, much peer pressure from the people on Patreon. You know, I am nervous to tow up mountains, as you should be if you don't really know what you're doing. And so everyone on Patreon was like, oh, just go up to the mountains, go up to the mountains. I didn't want to go to the mountains. I wanted to go further south where there are palm trees and flat surfaces and beaches and things that I'm familiar with. No, go up to the mountains. I'm like, you go up to the mountains. Here's what people don't understand about towing is you get like RV lag, not jet lag, RV lag, which is what I have right now. I'm about to go to the gym and get my ass in gear, but it was 8 hours towing. 8 hours. And the thing about towing is that you are constantly aware the entire time that you are pulling an 11,000 pound bomb behind you. So it is just so draining. And it's not really the rig so much as it is the people around you who are moving around your rig like you have a Mini Cooper. It's exhausting. And then when you get gas, or diesel in my case, you've got to think like 50 steps ahead. When I pulled the rig in, and I was going to like truck stops, but I was the gas station. I took up the whole thing, and I had to fill up twice, and each time I had to knock on a truck driver's door. I'm like, sir, excuse me, you and I and everybody else isn't going anywhere until I get some help backing this thing out. So, do you think you can? And luckily everyone was great. Well, they had to be great because otherwise nobody was going to be able to get back on the road. Forced help. It works. Anyway, I finally made it up here, and YouTuber Melanie offered up her beautiful home, her driveway. I've got this great view. A half a mile down the road, there are cows. I can hear them mooing and talking shit at night. So I have a little bit of recuperation to get my brain back on track. Fly. You will get flies in your RV. It's unavoidable. There's going to be a bunch of little travel stories from the cute little towns that are up here. But we're going to do something different this Sunday, because this Sunday is when I typically post is Father's Day. And we also have a lot going on in the world, and I've not said anything for Team Blue yet, and I'm very outspoken about supporting law enforcement. So we're going to do something different on Sunday and then get back on track with travel stories. But there was kind of an event that happened regarding my tires that has now been sort of a teachable moment, an educational moment. So we're going to talk about that as a short video and then get on with it from there. And I'm going to go outside, but I'm all cuddled up on my beautiful makeout couch. And I'm perfectly content where I am. Before I came up here, I met the last special being that you will see at RV parks. Now, in the last video, we went through some of these creatures. I don't know where they come from. They have all kinds of fascinating habits. But on the last couple days, I met what shall from now on be called Chief Ding Dong of the Eternal Flame Order. Now, every campground I've ever stayed in has a Chief Ding Dong. This campground had a couple of Chief Ding Dongs. Chief Ding Dong lives in an HOA. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty confident. A little intel about INTJ personalities is we have something that psychologists call the death stare. It looks like this. And we do that for an excessive amount of time. And what it is, it's we're accruing information like a computer screen, like because introverts will lose all their energy if they engage with too many people. So you have to pick and choose who you want to deal with. So there's all that harvesting of information with that resting bitch face in the beginning of an interaction. So I had plenty of time with all the rain we had to watch Chief Ding Dong and get a full synopsis. Chief Ding Dong, I'm quite confident, lives in an HOA by his choice. He has a huge car shrine, also called a garage, that he stores not his car, but like a number of unnecessary kitchen gadgets like Ninja blenders and George Foreman's still in their original packaging. He uses them once and then puts them right back and then puts them in the garage in a series of shelves. No tools in there, because the HOA takes care of everything in his lawn. So when Chief Ding Dong goes camping, this is his one time to reconnect with his masculinity. And he does that by setting shit on fire all day long. When you go to a campground and you are around people that actually know what they're doing, when you build a real fire, like a real fire, you have to structure the logs in sort of this pyramid scheme so that there is airflow between the logs, and you use kindling. And then because there's all that thermal energy, the flames and the air and the soot and the heat goes straight up. That's what it's supposed to do. It goes straight up. You can actually cook things on that. You can sit around it. That's not what Chief Ding Dong does. No, what Chief Ding Dong does is light his garbage on fire. He lights whatever he can find on fire because now he has a garbage pit. And Caveman comes out of Chief Ding Dong, fire. So Chief Ding Dong in the morning emerges from his RV. He goes right to his outdoor kitchen. He turns on the TV as loud as it will humanly go. And then for the rest of the day, he walks from the outdoor kitchen to the fire pit with his grill tongs in one hand and a remote in the other. And just back and forth, unless he's feeding. That's another observation. At RV parks, there's no such thing as mealtime. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? No. Mom, wife, whoever it is, comes out and sets the picnic table full of all kinds of snacks and food. And then it's sort of like a cow hay bale in the middle of the field. They all come to it and then rotate around it all day long. There's no actual meal. It's just this constant grazing. Get a feed bag. Fascinating. Mealtime goes out the door. So that's what he does, Chief Ding Dong. Back and forth. Grazing, outdoor kitchen, changes the channel, and then back to the fire pit. He's not making a real fire, though. I saw him put his styrofoam and plastic cups in that thing, and I'm like, man, we're not supposed to breathe that, right? It is strictly to do the manly thing. So he puts garbage in there, or if he finds a twig, or anything that will catch on fire, and then sets it on fire and just keeps this slow burn. There's no real fire going. It's just this slow, festering, smoldering burn all day long and into the night. The problem with that is that if you don't make a real fire, if you're just setting things on fire, it just smokes. There's no flame. There's just this eternal smoke that just puffs out of this thing. And what that does is that fills your entire campground with smoke. It doesn't go straight up. So all of his neighbors, me, we have to keep our windows shut because Chief Ding Dong is sending out smoke signals all day long. And your whole rig smells like smoke. And then it gets really funny when he gets frustrated because his garbage is not creating an impressive fire, and he doesn't actually have any firewood. So he'll find something, and if it won't set on fire, then he'll go into his RV man cave and get out a bottle of lighter fluid, the way to cheat, and stand there and burst it with lighter fluid, and then a little flame will come up, and just boom, instant erection, one pubic hair comes right out. He feels himself as just as manly as he possibly can. You can see the smile on his face. He's thrilled to death, and then it dies right back down, and then smokes for the next 45 minutes. I had quite the entertainment watching Chief Ding Dong. It was not thrilling entertainment because I couldn't open up my windows for 3 days. But yeah, Chief Ding Dong of the Eternal Flame is another one of the fascinating people you will meet. And there's, like I said, there's never one. There's several of them. I don't know, maybe they didn't go to Boy Scouts, they didn't learn how to build a real fire. It's just setting shit on fire and then holding your grill tongs all day long. All day long. Okay, as I was packing up the rig to leave, again, I am super, super neurotic about tire pressure. I think it's the reporter in me. I have read so many stories about people in RVs having tire blowouts, and it's absolutely terrified me. Because if you are a small female, there are a lot of perks to being a small female, or just a female at all. You can throw the damsel in distress card when you need to, which I try not to do. I try to do everything myself. But when you have to throw it, throw it. You do not want to be a female on the side of the road with a car that is incapacitated. That is called being a target, and that is not good. So while I have roadside service, I have become really afraid of having a tire blowout. So I'm always checking the pressure. I mean, poor Captain Electrician Michael, I was always asking him to check the pressure on all my tires. And that seems to be like the reason for blowouts. I mean, that, and I think they might be cheap tires. Anyway, when I was leaving, I bought a brand new air compressor, and I'm going around and I'm checking the tires, and then the air compressor blew up. It actually started smoking. So I had to go somewhere to get my tires checked. Now, this is not the van. This is not some nimble little rig that I can just whip into a tire shop. I had to get on the road. Now, I got up at 5 to do this, but I was so afraid because I was going to be towing in the rain that I wanted every second I could. I go down to the office with the rig to finally leave, and the guy at the KOA tells me that I don't have air in my tires. I have nitrogen. What? This is actually the air compressor that blew. They're sending me another one. I'm not sure what happened, but seriously, it started smoking. Okay, so these are Westlake tires. They come standard on the Grand Design. They are also nicknamed China Bombs, but I would like to point out that a lot of tires are actually made in China, but it's these green caps. According to the guy at the KOA, he said those green caps mean that you have nitrogen in your tires and not air. Well, I had been pumping air into the tire to fill it up. So then I'm like totally panicked, and I thought, oh my God, did I like ruin the tire? Am I gonna not be able to drive? Like, just like a calm, sensible adult should handle these things. And he said, well, it's going to make them less efficient, and you might want to drain the tire and fill it back up with nitrogen. He's like, but you'll be fine. So, I mean, nitrogen? Since when? I didn't know that. So I take it down to, well, no. Let me add what actually happened in this scenario. First, let me sit down, because RV lag is a real thing. I go to the tire shop. Now, I do not have time to mess around and do the considerate thing and schedule an appointment. I also am not good at navigating this in small spaces. So I find the tire shop. Problem, it is a narrow driveway. There are cars stacked on both sides, and then it's the bays. If I pull into this thing, I have completely blocked off their entire operation. So that's what I did. I was desperate. I'm panicked at that point that I have ruined my tires. So I pulled this thing in. All the cars are now blocked. The bays are blocked. Mechanics are kind of gruff. and this guy comes out. It's an older guy. Mechanic is like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, the tire, nitrogen. I'm not sure. No. And I think because he had no choice, because I had blocked off the whole thing, he did help me. So when I explained to him the nitrogen thing, his response was, bullshit. I was like, what do you mean bullshit, man? They're full of nitrogen. And he said that it is totally a marketing thing and not terribly necessary. So he was livid that I had commandeered his entire parking space, but I followed him from tire to tire as he was filling them up with air. And I'm asking him all these questions about nitrogen, and by the end of it, we were best friends, but he legit hated me in the beginning. Reasonable. So what he said is that the nitrogen, when they put nitrogen in a tire, the theory there is that it will not heat up as much as air will, which will lessen the chance that you have a tire blowout. And that a nitrogen molecule is bigger than an air molecule. So as your tire is spinning on the road and the rubber is flexing, air has 1.6 times faster rate of diffusing out of the tire than nitrogen. So it will keep the air in the tire. And so he's telling me this, and I thought, okay, well, this is all good. And he said, but it's really hard to measure, and it's probably bullshit. Another part of having just that more compact, less leakage on the tire is when your tires are more inflated, it reduces the roll on a tire, and gives you better fuel economy. But the big issue is that who in the hell carries nitrogen on them? Absolutely no one. And according to him, that's the point. Is because since you can't carry nitrogen, since my little rinky-dink air compressor is not going to fill nitrogen, you are forced to go to a tire shop, you are forced to go to a dealership, and then they have to essentially bleed the tire and fill it back up with nitrogen if there's any air in it. And that can run you up to $30 a tire. So again, according to him, it's really a marketing thing, and it's a way to keep you chained to tire shops and dealerships and all that to manage your tires. I wasn't entirely convinced, so I called electrician Michael to ask him, and the first words out of electrician Michael's mouth were, bullshit. And he said the same thing, that it's largely a marketing ploy to keep you chained to the tire shops and to the dealerships. So I went ahead and filled up the tires with air, and I will continue to fill them with air. You know, I'm not sure what will happen with this. If I keep it long term, I will probably put better tires on it. But I just thought that that was such an interesting little quirk about, you know, how they get you for your money, that I wanted to share that in between now and the next little travel story that we do. And there's going to be a lot that come out here because there's all these cute towns. But let me show you, while I don't get stung by this wasp. In the last video, I was telling you what the one thing that and I'm sorry if the microphone bobs in front of this. There's not much that I can do about that. I guess I can take it off. I talked to you about the one thing that I would do differently. And I said I would have a home base and orient from it. YouTuber Melanie has got the setup. So they have their home. They have this beautiful, like the huge front. Like you could put so many cows here. But what they also have is that in their driveway down here, they have a 50 amp and a 30 amp plug set up. And then they pull water from their house. So the War Wagon is wonderfully parked with power service and water. They don't have septic, so I would add that. But then when they want to take a break, when they don't want to travel, they can come home and live in their house. At the same time, they can rent this out. They can, you know, give it to strangers like me rolling through town. I just really think that if I was going to do it all over again, that is the one thing that I would absolutely do different, and they've done a phenomenal job here. So the big challenge here will be when I go to leave, getting this whole thing from a dead stop up that incline, and that's where we'll see if heavy duty Cummins diesel is actually really heavy duty. Say a little prayer. All right, it's time for Jim. It's time to edit the Father's Day special that I have coming up for Team Blue, and then it's time to run around these mountains like we own the place, because we got a lot of exploring to do. Yeah, high five weirdos. Bye.